to be here, and I do likewise have an apology from Chris Robertson. He chaired the fundraising committee, and unfortunately he had a double up of appointments. But it is my pleasure to be able to present to you what we think is going to be a penultimate final check. It can be such a description as that, but there will be, and I can assure you of that. But I thought first I might just give you a little bit of the background of the trust for the benefit of the new councillors. The trust was formed by the council of the time and me, Bede O'Malley, back in 2005. But that was after 3 or 4 years of prior discussion within council at that concept stage. So 2005 the trust came on board, and the trust was briefed with 1, identifying the site, 2, put something on it, and 3, do the necessary fundraising for it. So that was no mean feat at the time, but nonetheless it was something that we did manage to achieve. So just briefly the timeline relating to that, it wasn't until 2010 that we actually identified the Riverside site, and in 2011 the council of the day requested the trust to fundraise $5 million minimum before the project could proceed. So we set about that task, and probably within 12 months we had our first $1 million of sponsorship coming through, and I think it'd be fair to say that part of the success was not only the great support that we had from our consultants that were working for the trust, but times were tough back in 2010, 2012. We had a global financial crisis. We had the option of taking a $25,000 one-off donation, or some of the bigger sponsors. We said, well, okay, that's fine, it's tax deductible. How would you like to do it over 5 years? So we very successfully managed to incrementally achieve far greater success than we would have otherwise been able to achieve. So then in 2012, Warren and Marnie came on board as the approved final architects. We did have 2 other firms of architects, but I'm sure everybody would agree that Warren and Marnie did a superb job for us. 2012, the complex was named, and that was when the EA Networks Centre through Electricity Ashburton came on board as the $1 million naming rights sponsor. And then in 2013 was when Naylor Love came on board as the approved construction company. So construction took about 18 months, and then by 13 we had commitments far in excess of the $5 million, and that enabled the centre to ultimately be opened in I think May 2015. So that's a brief timeline of, ever so brief, of how we've got to where we are. But there is no doubt that the success is not because I'm here or because of my board. Right from the start, the community wanted it. All the surveys, all the consultants' reports indicated that 70 to 80% of the Mid-Canterbury community wanted a multi-purpose recreational facility for the Mid-Canterbury people. And they clearly put their money where their mouth was. So fast forward to 2018, I can say that we have only had 1 small bad debt of $5,000 out of all that, and that was due to the sale of the business, where the commitment wasn't rolled over. And we also, part of that $6 million included the additional Lion Foundation grant for the stadium seating as well. So that, with interest, we're grossing close to $6 million for the project. We expect to complete all of our invoicing and data collections by the 30th of June of this year, bar 1. We have a silver partner that came on very late in the piece, and they also opted to do it over the 5-year period. So with that exception, there's no problem with the debtor. He's just opted to pay it monthly over 5 years. So we're expecting to have everything else done and dusted, and we have had preliminary discussions with the Audit Office about winding the trust up, if that's the wish of Council, and Chris Robertson, our lawyer, and also we've mentioned it to Andrew as well. So part of the rollover of the trust was whether or not a hydroslide or some other recreational facility may have been possible, but in the absence of that, there is probably no point in carrying on the trust at this point in time. So we envisage that 30th of June 18, there may be a bit more cash in the bank, but there should be no debtors, bar one, and we're hoping that the Audit Office agrees with us that it should be a very simple, easy set of books to achieve and not subject to the delays that we've had in previous years.
Maurice, could I convey through you back to your committee our
Yes.
appreciation and thanks for the work that you have done for the fundraising for this this venue.
Yes.
It's appreciated by us and by the community. So thank you.
I'll certainly pass that on. Of course, it's not all about me. I've tried on 3 previous occasions to step down as chairman, but they keep coming back and saying, well, it's only accounting, it's only finance, you might as well carry on. So I've opted to do that. But if we are going to retire the trust, it might be time for me to retire as well. So look, I have nothing further to say. I can keep you waiting a little bit longer, Mayor Donna, or I can pass a cheque over to you for the amount of $250,000 on the pretext that, as I say, it's the penultimate final one, that there's possibly, or will be, another one coming post your year-end, 30th of June.
Well, Maurice, it's lovely to have people coming and wanting to deliver funds to council. It doesn't happen that often. More frequently, it's the other way. But just before we do that, I'll ask, are there any questions for Maurice and the Stadium Complex Trust? We've recently had your statement of intent come to, well, our statement of intent with the Stadium Complex Trust come to Finance and Business Support. We've recently discussed that. Councillor Brian.
Through the Chair. Thank you, Maurice. The question I would have, you did it for a long, long time. You and your committee, are you happy where you are? Are you pleased with what you achieved? Or is there something else you would like to do?
Thank you. Look, we're, on behalf of the Trust, absolutely delighted with what we achieved, and you only have to see the success of the facility that's out there now. You have to pick your time when you want to have a swim. You almost have to go on a waiting list now for some of the memberships. If that's not a successful recreational facility, then I'm not sure what would be. As you may be aware, that part of carrying on with the trust was whether or not a hydroslide may have